We've all been taught that a leadership team in perfect agreement is the goal, right? A well-oiled machine. But what if that's actually a dangerous oversimplification? What if that perfect harmony under the wrong conditions is really a recipe for disaster? Well, today, we're diving into the research that finally cracked this very puzzle.
It seems like such a simple question, doesn't it? Of course agreement is good. Disagreement just sounds like conflict, wasted time, and a whole lot of confusion. But the research on this tells a much more complicated and frankly a way more interesting story. Turns out, the common sense answer might just be completely wrong. So to get to the bottom of this, we're going to follow the clues like a detective story. We'll start with the historical puzzle, then we'll break down what consensus really means, figure out the right order of operations, add a critical twist, and finally, see what it all means for you. Let's get into it. Okay, so our story starts in a state of, well, academic chaos. For more than 30 years, researchers tried to find a clear, simple link between how much a management team agrees and how well their company performs. But the results? They were a complete and total mess. I mean, the findings were all over the place. One study finds that consensus helps performance. Makes sense. But then, just 5 years later, the very same researcher finds it hurts performance. And then another team comes along, looks at all the data, and says, it has no effect at all. It was a total mystery. Just imagine being a CEO trying to get advice. For decades, nobody could confidently say if consensus was good, bad, or just irrelevant. The big breakthrough started when researchers realized the question itself might be flawed. See, they were treating consensus as this one big, simple thing. And the first crucial clue was this aha moment. Consensus isn't just one thing. We have to break it down. And it turns out strategic consensus really has two different parts. There's agreeing on the how, which is your competitive method, and then there's agreeing on the what, which are objectives. This distinction, this simple separation, is the absolute key to solving the entire puzzle.
So, what's method consensus? Well, think of it as your big picture strategy. It's that deep agreement on how you plan to win in the market. Are you going to be the low-cost leader, like Walmart, stripping out every penny of cost to offer the lowest price? Or are you going to win with the most innovative, differentiated products like Apple? It's the fundamental DNA of your competitive approach. And then there's objective consensus. This is all about agreeing on the specific targets on the wall, the results you're chasing. Is our number one goal this quarter to grow market share, even if it hurts short-term profits? Or is it all about maximizing profitability, no matter what? This is about the ends, not the means. Okay, so we've got two types of consensus, the how and the what. But that brings up the next big question. Which one has to come first? Does the order you agree on these things actually matter? Well, it turns out it matters a lot.
Now, strategic thinking has really evolved over time. The old models used to say, hey, start with your goals, your what, and then figure out how to get there. But the modern view, the one that really broke this case open, completely flips the script. It argues you have to first agree on your competitive method, your how. And why? Because you can't really set meaningful goals until you know what game you're actually playing.
So here's the causal chain the researchers figured out. First, the leadership team agrees on the how, their method. That shared understanding makes it possible to then align on the what, their objectives. And that alignment on objectives is what actually drives performance. It's like the crucial bridge that translates your big picture strategy into real-world results. If you don't agree on the how first, any agreement on the what is pretty much just wishful thinking. So we have our two types of consensus, and we've got them in the right order. But there was still one missing variable that explained why all that past research was so contradictory. And that final piece of the puzzle wasn't inside the company at all. It was the world outside its walls. The concept is called environmental dynamism. Now, I know it's a fancy term, but it's for a simple but really powerful idea. How fast and unpredictably is your world changing? Is your market a calm, predictable pond, or is it a raging, chaotic ocean? This one factor, it turns out, changes absolutely everything. Let's make this real for a second. A low dynamism environment is super stable. Think of a company that makes, salt. The product doesn't change, the competitors are well known, the market is predictable. A high dynamism environment is the exact opposite. Think of a startup in the AI space. The technology changes weekly, new competitors pop up overnight, and customer needs are constantly shifting. That level of dynamism is the final key. All right, all the pieces are finally on the board. We've separated consensus into the how and the what,
We know the right order is how, then what, and we've added this critical factor of the external environment. So now, let's put it all together and solve this thing once and for all. The researchers put it perfectly. The effective consensus isn't fixed. It can be good, it can be bad, or it can be totally neutral. In other words, there's no single right answer. It all depends on the environment. Let's see how. First, let's look at a company operating in that calm, predictable, low dynamism market. The competitive landscape is clear, customers are understood, and change happens pretty slowly. So what happens here? In a stable world, consensus is a huge asset. It's a virtue. When the path forward is clear, getting everyone aligned on how to compete lets them effectively align on what to achieve. And this creates a powerful engine for flawless execution. Everyone is pulling in exactly the same direction. But now, let's flip the switch. Let's take that same company and drop it into a highly dynamic, turbulent, unpredictable market. Technology's shifting, new players are emerging, the ground is constantly moving under their feet. What happens to consensus now? And this is the paradox. In a dynamic world, that same high level of consensus becomes a dangerous liability. The chain works the same way. Agreement on methods leads to agreement on objectives, but this time it leads directly to lower performance. Why? Well, because tight consensus creates groupthink and blind spots. A team that's so perfectly aligned on yesterday's strategy can't see the new threats and opportunities of today. They're just too slow to adapt. So in a dynamic world, consensus becomes a vice. And you can see the effect so clearly here. In a stable, low dynamism environment, consensus drives performance way, way up. But in a chaotic, high dynamism world, that very same consensus crushes performance. The external environment completely flips the outcome, turning what was once a powerful tool into a dangerous trap. Okay, this is all fascinating theory, but what does it actually mean for you as a leader running a team or a business? Let's break down the actionable takeaways. The takeaways here are crystal clear. Your job as a leader isn't just to drive consensus, it's to be a sophisticated diagnostician of your environment. You have to know when consensus is an asset and when it's a liability. In a stable market, absolute alignment is your engine for execution. Drive it hard. But in a dynamic market, your survival depends on doing the opposite. You have to actively foster debate, challenge assumptions, and protect those dissenting views. That warm, fuzzy feeling of comfortable, total agreement can be a fatal flaw when the world is changing around you. So we'll end with a question for you to take back to your own team. Is your organization's culture built for consensus, rewarding agreement and unity above all else? Or is it built for change, encouraging the productive friction and diverse thinking you need to navigate a turbulent world? The answer might just be the most important strategic insight you have all year.